NRL 2019 Round 8 preview. Now, the last round, the Anzac round, was just brilliant rugby league throughout. I was really impressed with some teams, disappointing with others. Let's preview. Let's see who does what, shall we? Right, the South Sydney Rabbitohs and the Brisbane Broncos open up the round. Of course, South Sydney have Wayne Bennett and Brisbane Broncos have Anthony Seibold. So the coaches had done a swap from last year, a season earlier than anticipated, obviously, but it was all done in the off-season. This is the rivalry, I think, of the season because of the coaches. This is down to Anthony Seibold's had a really poor start with Brisbane, although he didn't have a great start with South Sydney. He went on to do really good things last year. Wayne Bennett is while the team is not the most fluid and fluent, they're winning games. They've lost one game. I have to go with the Rabbitohs for this. Even though Brisbane won last round and won well at home, South Sydney have been a machine. They're not playing well and they're winning. They're the only team to have beaten the Roosters so far this season. Let's tick that off the box. The way they play, while they're not playing fluently and at their best, they're playing as a team. And they're grinding out results when other teams who aren't playing well would lose. That's a sign of a very good squad. And Wayne Bennett has that coaching nous. And plus, on another positive for the Rabbitohs is the Burgess brothers are coached by Wayne Bennett for England as well. So there's a good working relationship with players in the team. And they're winning games, so he can't be too disappointed. While he would want things to be done better, and obviously there are things to work on, I think that's what he wants with this side, is to constantly improve. And, you know, they're winning tight games, they're winning really well, they're winning scrappy, it doesn't matter, they're getting the results. Whereas in Brisbane's case, although they won the last round, they haven't been getting the results, and they've been losing games that South Sydney would win. So it's going to be interesting to see if the Broncos can continue the momentum and how they're going to combat this Rabbitohs side, who are confident and playing not as I say at their best, but they have momentum. Can the Broncos build some momentum? That's something, because they've given their rivals so much of a head start that it's going to be difficult for them going forward if they lose this game to close that gap. And momentum is a big thing, and confidence is a big thing in the NRL. But I think momentum is also a massive thing, because backing up one win with a second win, you can leapfrog teams, and suddenly you're in the finals hunt, and you're in the hunt to get the top 8. But at the moment, the Broncos are so far back that they have given too much of a head start to the Bunnies there. The North Queensland Cowboys, Gold Coast Titans, the other two Queensland sides who have also struggled so far this season. Where do I begin? The Gold Coast and Queensland Titans and Queensland Cowboys both lost last weekend. It was a painful loss for the Titans because they'd won 2 in a row. Is that a blip? Can they win again? Can they get that third win of the season, get some momentum going? But both sides are below par. The Cowboys, well, they're missing Jonathan Thurston, aren't they? They haven't truly found his replacement because he was so dominant in his position. The Titans, they have some injury concerns. They haven't been as fluent as they would like. They are starting to score points, which was a concern at the beginning of the season, that they weren't scoring enough. Defensively, over the last 3-4 games, they have tightened up, but obviously that defeat over the Anzac weekend was a bad defeat. That's a big blow for them, considering that they started to get some momentum going, and they need to get some wins together and string some wins together, because it's been a tough start of the season. The Cowboys, wow, with the players that they do actually have, however, they shouldn't be in this position. It's not that long ago that they won the grand final. They're regularly, in the they've been in the grand final 2 out of the last 4. So the fact that they are where they are is a surprise, but at the same time, they're not playing well. They're not defending well. Their defence is really, really poor. So this could be actually a high-scoring game, because both sides struggle to defend. Tamalolo should be back for the Cowboys. That's going to be interesting. The forward battle with Tamalolo back, because he's such a destructive ball runner. He gets big meters, line breaks. How the Titans, how they contain him is going to be interesting. But Tamalolo is coming back from a knee injury, so will he play many minutes? That's another thing. Will he come off the interchange bench? It's going to be interesting to see how the Cowboys use Tamalolo. But I think this is a game that I think is difficult to call, because both sides are struggling. It could be a scrappy game, or it could be one of the most open, thrilling games of the lot. I couldn't call this. It might even go to golden point. It could be a draw. Almost uncallable. The Rabbitohs, for me, in the first game, are favourites over the Broncos. The Sharks, Storm. Well, this is a repeat of the 2016 Grand Final, isn't it? The issue with the Cronulla Sharks is their consistency. They win some games, they lose some games. They win scrappy games, they lose scrappy games. They got really destroyed by the Broncos last weekend. Badly beaten up. And it doesn't get any easier because now they're playing the Melbourne Storm, who are, well, the most solid, consistent side in NRL history, I think, in my book. But there is a weakness with the Storm. If the Storm have to chase the game, they look less competent and less comfortable. The Storm want an arm wrestle. So the way the Sharks can win is to get out the traps early and score some early points, because that then puts the Storm under pressure, and the Storm don't like that. That's their weakness, is chasing a game. If you allow the Storm to get into a lead and get into an arm wrestle, you're going to lose. You have to make the Storm chase. They look less solid. They look less Storm-like. They need to be in control to win. They need to control the pace of the game. If they're not the team controlling the pace of the game and the scoring, they don't like it. They don't like being chasing. They like being chased. So the Sharks have an opportunity, but at the same time, it's going to be a tall order. If they get into an arm wrestle, they could find it very, very difficult to beat the Storm. And the Storm do have some attacking weapons that, when they get in that forward arm wrestle, the back line, Vunivalu, for example, and Adokar, they will have a field day scoring tries. If the arm wrestle happens, it could be a long night for the Sharks. Two sides that lost: the Raiders, Panthers. The Canberra Raiders, the 2 games they lost, they haven't lost badly. They've been in with a chance of winning both games. They've shown a lot of heart and character in those 2 defeats this season against the Storm, and of course at the weekend just gone. The Panthers are a team that is really with the quality they have in that squad, Origin players, rep players, past and present. They're underperforming massively. They're not scoring enough tries. They're scrappy. They're making a lot of mistakes. Set completion is just terrible, one of the worst in the comp. The Raiders will be angry with that defeat they suffered at the weekend. They will want to bounce back. The Sea Eagles are one of those sides that, again, are scrappy to play against, but are going under the radar. The Raiders, they will be frustrated with losing to the Sea Eagles, but you've got to look at how they've played at home, and they've been scary at home. They've scored a lot of points. They have the players to score those points. You've got the fab English foursome, who've been instrumental in getting that forward pack up the field and getting the team up the field. And while they do make a lot of mistakes, they don't, won't die wandering. Or they will. They're a heart and soul team. The commitment is there. The Panthers, they are so disjointed and there's no flow, whereas the Raiders, when they do get back-to-back sets, they look dangerous. Sometimes impatient, and that is frustrating as a Raiders fan. They, sometimes this season they've been a bit over-exuberant and not patient enough, and they've wasted opportunities. But I have to go with the Raiders on this one. The Panthers just do not have the consistency. They do not have the flow to their game. They don't have the combinations aren't working. They're looking very stop-start. They make a lot of mistakes. Handling errors have been killing them, and their penalty count is far too high. The Raiders, they play at a high pace. They play at 110 miles an hour, and when they are on, they have one of the most lethal, potent attacks in the competition. But they will also give Penrith opportunities, but Penrith, they're not taking those opportunities when they're given to them. So I have to go with the Raiders on this one. The Panthers, we have to see what Penrith team turns up. They're both good and bad in the same game. They're inconsistent, and they're not. There's no flow to their play. There's no structural flow to their play that I can work out. They're really underperforming badly, and they are where they are. The Sea Eagles, Bulldogs. The Bulldogs having a really good win at the weekend against the North Queensland Cowboys. A statement win. It's a learning season for the Bulldogs. They're a young side. They're away at the Sea Eagles, who've been an under-the-radar team. They've just been quietly racking up these wins, chipping away. The Sea Eagles haven't won every game. They are human. They have some defensive frailties. They also have These are the two of the weakest squads in the competition for depth. The Seagulls, though, they're winning games. They're doing it quietly, under the radar. They're not scoring a lot of points. Defensively, they have some concerns. The Bulldogs, what Bulldogs team, much like Penrith, is going to show up. Individually, they have talented players. The individual talent is there. It's getting those young players, when they do concede tries, that the heads don't go down. The Bulldogs will make mistakes. But the way they play, when they throw it around with pace, they look dangerous. And can the Sea Eagles live with that pace of play? Can they live with that intensity? Because when the Canterbury have played well, they've played with pace. They throw the ball around and they really just have no fear, it seems. The issue with the Bulldogs is their confidence and leadership. They are a very, very young side. They're missing lots of key players. Kieran Four and Dylan Napa, for example, long-term injury doubts. But they're willing to throw it around and they're willing to give it a go. It's not for want of trying. They won't die not trying. They are a heart and soul team, but they're a young team. The Sea Eagles have a lot of experience in their side in certain positions. However, can they live with the pace that Canterbury want to play at? That's the crucial thing. They managed to survive the Raiders just by 4 points. The Bulldogs have got a really confidence-boosting win behind them. They won well against North Queensland. They had double the score, 24 points to 12. They really put a shift in last weekend. They want to build on that. They want to win back-to-back games for the first time this season. So the Sea Eagles, while they've been chipping away and just grind out results, this Canterbury side, they're good and bad because they will give opportunities to the opposition. Defensively, they are a shambles, but in attack, they are fun to watch. And as a neutral, I love watching the Bulldogs because you don't know what team's going to show up, but in attack, they will throw it around. The Roosters, West Tigers, the Roosters look unstoppable, I'm not going to lie. The only team to beat the Melbourne Storm so far, though other teams have pushed the Melbourne Storm as well. And Latrell Mitchell is really starting to click this season. Really starting to click, really pull the strings with some of his attacking plays are just world class. The West Tigers, inconsistency. Losing 51 points to, I think it was 6 or 4 2 weekends ago. Last weekend, they win, they put 30 points on the board. What West Tigers side is going to show up? That's another thing. They're a slightly better version of the Canterbury Bulldogs because they have that more experienced spine. Is it Reynolds and Brooks in the halves? Is it Benji Marshall and Brooks in the halves? That's a question with the Tigers. The Roosters, they've got origin players throughout. Jake Friend's come back from injury. That's key. They've had a few injuries. They've had to throw some young players in, and those young players have played very well, actually, considering the lack of experience they have off the interchange bench. But Latrell Mitchell, just what's he going to do next? He's got drop goals at key moments. Cooper's taken some pressure off Cooper Cronk in that regard with the winning drop goal over the Melbourne Storm. And Cooper Cronk, how is that shoulder going to hold up? Will the West Tigers target Cronk? Because every team has gone after Cronk so far in the competition. They've targeted him when he's kicking. They're putting a lot of pressure on him. They're making big hits when he goes to the line. Will the Tigers target Cronk, or will they allow him some space and then target other players so he has no outball? That's going to be interesting how they handle the Roosters halves and Latrell Mitchell. I have to go with the Roosters, however. They are just so consistent and they are a superstar team. They score tries almost at will at times. They can score tries in bunches. The Tigers' defence is exceptionally shaky. If you start getting points against the Tigers, their heads drop. If you can get 2-3 quick tries, the Tigers' heads will drop, as Parramatta proved. If you score quickly against them, their heads drop. And their last play on the set, their kicking choices are questionable at times. Very questionable kicking options they've had in recent games. Put pressure on the kicker. Will the West Tigers be able to deal with that pressure? Another thing. The New Zealand Warriors, Newcastle Knights. The Knights now have 2 wins. They both come at home, mind. But the way they played against Parramatta in the last round was the performance of the round. It was the game of the round for me. Brilliant performance by the Newcastle Knights. I could not fault them in their attitude and their application. They were under a lot of media speculation, spotlight about how the team were playing. Mitchell Pearce was under a lot of pressure. The whole team stepped up. Every single player in the Knights team stepped up and put a shift in at the weekend. The Warriors came close against the Melbourne Storm. How much has that taken out of them mentally and emotionally? That's something that gets overlooked in sport, is Emotional fatigue. They pushed the Storm all the way. The Knights now, they want to build and get a back-to-back win, get some confidence going. They prove now they can score points. The way they played against the Eels, if they are to do that, they will win. Mitchell Pearce really put on a clinic. The forward pack stepped up and showed energy where they didn't show it in previous rounds against the Titans, for example, where they imploded. They were too passive. If they can play like they played against the Eels, they will rack up more wins. They'll get some confidence, build some momentum. The Warriors, they're actually equal on points with the Newcastle Knights. Yeah, they're on 4 points as well. Defensively, the Warriors have some issues. But again, in attack, when the Warriors get it going, they can score a lot of points. Newcastle, for the most part, their average score is 16 points a game. They scored 28 in the last game. That's well above their average. They really put a shift in. They need to keep doing that. It's going to be a fun game. Too close to call on that one. I really think that's going to be so close to call. Same with the Eagles, Bulldogs, and there's some games that I just can't call. Other games, I'm going with the Raiders, the Rabbitohs, the Storm, the Roosters. This one too close to call, and the Parramatta Eels and Georgia Illawarra Dragons. I can't call that one either. That one's too close to call. There's a lot of games that could actually go to Golden Point, looking at the form book and how teams played in the last couple of rounds. But as I've proven before, predictions, I'm not very good at them. Parramatta Dragons. The Dragons are coming off a defeat. Parramatta are coming off a defeat. Parramatta are home at the new Westbank Stadium. We saw what they did against the West Tigers, scoring over 50 points. Can they tap into that home form again? Because the Dragons, as I say, missing Widdop, missing Corbin Sims, the Jack DeBellin thing's still ongoing. They're missing some players. Parramatta, they're going to be angry after that defeat to Newcastle. They were outplayed. Outfought. Mitch Moses was bested by Mitchell Pearce, and they're in a battle for an Origin jersey. How fit is Blake Ferguson? How fit actually is he with that rib injury and his broken nose? With those injuries he picked up against Canberra a couple of rounds back, how fit is he? Because he's crucial with the running meters. He was very, very quiet against Newcastle. The Eels are going to look at themselves and be angry with how they played in the last round. They deserved to lose that game. They were beaten up. They need to basically bounce back. This is a game to do it. The Dragons, coming off a defeat themselves, they're starting to be up and down in their form. They've got some injury concerns themselves, key injuries in their spine, whereas Parramatta, they don't necessarily have those key injuries that can't be filled by the squad they've got. Plus, they've been much better than they were last season. This is not a wooden spoon side at all. I think they have a very good opportunity to bounce back and bounce back well. We know Parramatta can score tries. It's their defence and their set completions that I think need to be improved. But we're 8 rounds in now, so they should have really got those basics right. But it's going to be fun. But I think this one is a very close call. The Dragons have played well without Gareth Widdop and Corbin Sims in the side. They played well against the Roosters in defeat. They had a good second half. So this is a difficult one to call. Parramatta we know can score. St George we know can also score. It's going to be fun. That's going to come down to try line defence and set completions. And that's where Parramatta struggle, is set completions. And in defence, there are some concerns down the middle. So that could be a fun game. But overall, there is the round 8 preview. Thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe. Place your thoughts below, and I'll have some more videos for you very, very soon.